how do you give a technical speech, a technical presentation? So I'm going to shock some of you with my following statement. There is no such thing as a technical presentation. Now, some of you may be scratching your head in your cars or watching this on YouTube or listening to it elsewhere. Well, what do I really mean by that? It's this. You're giving a presentation. People are either going to understand your ideas and remember them, or they aren't. Subject matter can change. Industries change. Topics change. But here's the real problem with telling yourself, I'm giving a technical presentation. Once you do that, in my experience, the vast majority of people then use that as an excuse to give an incredibly tedious, boring data dump. And they say, well, it's a technical presentation, so I have to talk about this deal, this fact, this fact, this fact, this fact, this fact, and wild complexity in slides. Here's the problem. It just doesn't work. Let's go back to the very first episode in this podcast where I talk about the goals of speaking. It's for people to understand your message and remember your message in order to do what you want. So if you're having a technical presentation on why some new form of stealth bomber should be supported by the U.S. Congress, that's a technical presentation, but you've got to give them reasons to make them vote in favor of this. It can't be that they know how every single rivet in the plane is put together. The number one problem with most so-called technical presentations is the speaker did not use enough judgment on what technical points are truly most important. And when you're not willing to make those decisions, what happens is if everything is important, you dump it all. When everything is important, nothing is important. Steve Jobs, the late founder of Apple, gave technical presentations all the time. But he did it in a way that was effective. When he wanted to sell the concept of an iPod, he didn't talk about all the gigabytes, megabytes, RAM, all that. He said, imagine 1,000 songs in your pocket. That's a technical presentation. But he did it in a way that people could see it, visualize it, relate to it, understand it, and want it. So I'm not giving you an excuse to be boring because you're giving a technical presentation. You should hold yourself to the very same standards. Now, you may have to give a presentation to a bunch of engineers, all with PhDs from MIT, who understand all kinds of things that I don't know. Subject matter may be different. But go back to this standard of give your presentation. When you're done, ask them what do they remember. If they don't remember your key points, you have failed. And yes, you have technically failed your presentation. So when you're preparing your technical presentation, the other thing I would suggest is lots and lots of details, facts, complex charts. Email it to people. Hand it out. Don't project it. Project one idea at a time in a non-text-based manner. The very same rules apply to technical presentations as all other presentations. Ultimately, in reference to what I said at the beginning of this episode, there's no such thing as a technical presentation. That's because there's no such thing as a PowerPoint presentation or a financial presentation or any other presentation. There's only two types of presentations in the world. It's either good or it's bad. It's either interesting or it's boring. From the audience's standpoint, those are the only two choices. So that's the mindset I need you to have. Is this good in the sense, is it interesting, relevant, and memorable to my audience? If that is your focus, you will give great technical presentations.